South of Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta Motor Speedway.
It is a must-see race.
400 miles, a lot of crazy things going to happen here.
There is a sense of urgency.
Some of those guys are racing super hard, that's probably why. We'll stay in it all day.
Feels like playoff energy down here.
Maximize our tank, get our points where we can.
Every time we have the racing here, it is intense.
Let's be smooth, let's be fast, and let's flex on them.
Welcome to Around the Track, presented by Moultrie Mobile. I'm Kim Coon alongside Ryan Flores, and we are in Announce Booth 3 for the second week, but that's because we're getting a brand new makeover to our studio.
Yeah, and it looks awesome in there. There'll be some new shows coming out of there as well, so that's exciting. Inside the Playoffs will be through there, so that'll be awesome to watch on True TV on Thursdays. But what was awesome to watch, not for us.
I know, you guys had some bad luck.
Yes, we
Not
got
your own
wrecked.
fault, though.
We got wrecked lap 3, which means I got to watch the whole race.
Yeah.
And but it was so exciting. What a crazy weekend of racing, even from the Xfinity Series. Sheldon Creed, another heartbreaker. When's he
so
going
bad
to
for
win
him.
one?
I know. I felt bad for his pit crew. They were on it all race long, and it just the 20 crew was just a little bit faster on that last stop.
That 20 teams won a lot of races on pit road, especially lately. And then you go to the Cup race. It was so exciting at the end, that 14 car with, I mean, the storylines. The 14 going out of business, changing teams, everybody's leaving. The 8 car comes out of nowhere with fresher tires chasing them down. It was like storybook stuff.
Yes, so exciting to watch. Congratulations again to Chase Briscoe for winning a crown jewel, the Southern 500. Also, it kind of got overlooked. Yes, we mentioned that Stewart Haas Racing is shutting down at the end of the year, but he broke an over 2-year winless streak for that race team, which is huge.
Yeah, and you know, that we talked about that on here last week. That's a place where if your team goes and they perform and they have their best night, you can surprise a lot of people. He did a great job, executed. He did some Kyle Larson stuff to Kyle Larson, and man, I saw the 2025 schedule came out this year, and I'm a little bummed because that Darlington race being the cutoff turned out to be pretty great.
Yeah, we'll talk about that schedule in a second. Before we do that, have to give kudos to Tyler Reddick for taking the regular season championship by 1 point over Kyle Larson. I know Larson and that team are probably like, oh, we missed a race. If we had had that one race at the Coca-Cola 600, maybe we would have gotten it. But MJ, on the property, in the house, gave a great interview where he talked about he doesn't have basketball anymore, but racing could easily replace that, which I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah, and I saw him after one of their stops. He was standing right by the wall, high-fiving the pit crew guys. I was like, that is pretty cool. So it's really exciting to have guys like him in the sport. And, man, that team, I think about 23-11, they are a young team, and to be able to win the regular season championship, that is really tough, and we'll see if they're able to keep the momentum. Now their focus is going to shift to the 45 and the 45 only for this playoff run, so we'll see if that makes them any stronger.
So you dropped a little nugget. We had the 2025 schedule for all 3 of NASCAR's top national series released last week. Lots of highlights on that. We're going to scroll through a couple of them, but what stood out to you? Yeah,
Bowman Gray, there's been a lot of buzz about that. I've raced there this summer, so it's a lot of fun to see those guys be able to get a cup race there and see what upgrades that track's going to get. We talked about Mexico, saw on there Rockingham. What excites you the most?
Yeah, you mentioned Bowman Gray. The Cup Series hasn't raced there since 1971, so that is a big return. Another thing returning to the schedule, not to the Cup Series, but Rockingham on the schedule for trucks and Xfinity. We have not seen a national series there at that iconic 1 mile in over a decade. And the Cup Series is off. It's Easter weekend, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of hungry Cup drivers that are going to try and get truck and Xfinity rides just because of how much that racetrack means to them.
Yeah, I did the truck race the last time I was there, and it was super fun. The crowd was exciting. So I don't know. And I look at when I look ahead of the playoffs, for being a little bit selfish here in the Cup schedule, the playoffs are a little bit more straightforward than they are this year. This year, when I look at the first 2 rounds with super speedways and road courses alike, both in the first 2 rounds, it's kind of just survive and advance, where next year the ball's in your court a little bit more and you can execute and have some stuff maybe that you can control. This year it's going to be very interesting, these next 2 rounds.
Yeah, a lot of noteworthy things on the schedule for 2025. You saw it on our slides, but the Truck Series getting additional races. They go from 23 to 25 races in their season. They have had such action-packed races. I know their fans are going to be very excited. But speaking of trucks, they are still off. Again, we don't see them race until Bristol.
Yeah, the trucks are off, but the Xfinity Series is with us at Atlanta. So when we look ahead to this weekend schedule, we'll have NASCAR Canada at Delaware Sunday at 4:15, and then the Xfinity and Cup Series Saturday 3 p.m., Sunday 3 p.m. What are you looking forward to with this Atlanta action this weekend.
Yeah, just a reminder that the Xfinity Series, they have not finished their regular season, so this is one of 3 races left before they kick off their playoffs, whereas the Cup Series, they will start the playoffs this weekend. So as we look at the Xfinity Series, last weekend we saw some flip-flopping again along the elimination line. Sammy Smith getting back into the playoffs, just 10 points to the good. Ryan Sieg taking a little bit of a hit. He's minus 10, but it is his home state, and so I think he's going to be really, really amped up.
Absolutely, yeah. Those JRM cars, they're going to have to work together, but they still need to each get in the playoffs themselves. The 2 that are on the cutoff line. And Ryan Sieg, man, the Fords have been strong here, but like we said, Austin Hill's kind of had a stranglehold on the field. So it'll be exciting to see who's able to get it done.
Yeah, regular season points got a little closer too. Obviously, Cole Custer having a great week, finishing runner-up at Darlington. Closed the gap a little bit on Justin Allgaier for that regular season. Now he's at 28 points behind Allgaier with 3 races left. And then just a quick shout out to SVG, finished 7th.
Yes.
And we're talking at an intermediate oval. That makes me scared if I'm the rest of the field once the playoffs start.
Yeah, I walked up on a conversation him and Corey were having on the grid, and he figured it out too. He didn't fire off really well, and he figured it out as the race went on, used a couple guys up, and had a great run. So that was exciting to see. Also this weekend, another exciting race, the World 100 at Eldora. You'll be able to see that on your Flow Racing app. I think the racing starts on Wednesday or Thursday, and it goes all the way through Saturday. So that's one of the biggest races, dirt races in the country.
Yeah, a lot of racing action, but it's going to heat up in hot Atlanta this weekend. And if it's anything like we saw in the spring race with that 3-wide finish, you don't want to miss it. Let's take a look back.
All right, boys, this one's the marathon.
A completely different super speedway racing experience.
Let's make it happen.
Green flags in the air.
Trouble along the front stretch. These guys are pedaling hard.
Couple deep breaths, man. We got this.
Here comes Blaney on the outside for the lead. Crossover move. Kyle push up high.
Here they come to the flag.
They're 3 wide for the lead.
Photo finish.
Finish is under review.
Scoring has the margin at 0.00 seconds.
Race clear is the 99.
How awesome was that?
It was so damn close. Man, I can't thank everyone enough. We wrecked lap 2. The guy did an amazing job fixing this car. Woo! Let's go!
Oh, it still breaks my heart every time I see that, Kim, but we're moving on. No practice this week. We'll see qualifying Saturday at 12:30. Cup race, like we said, 3 o'clock. A lot's on the line now when we go back to Atlanta. What are you looking for?
Well, like that piece just showed, you heard Mike Joyce say a completely different super speedway racing experience. And he is right. You know, we think about this as a super speedway now after the reconfiguration. Yes, we'll see drafting, but it is significantly different than Talladega and Daytona. You know, the packs are tighter, the runs come quicker, this track is smaller, and so things happen really fast, and the problem is it's so narrow that when something happens, it's even harder to get out of the way than a big track like Talladega or Daytona.
Absolutely, and handling is going to come into effect, so these crew chiefs are going to be working on their car. It's a common rear suspension, so everybody has to run the same rear points, but you can change your springs and dial your shocks in. But, man, like, I look at this place, I almost forgot before I saw that clip. This is a place where you want to keep track position all day and execute. But the 99 wrecked on lap 2. That's what Daniel just said, and they were able to fight back and break our hearts at the finish line. But I think we're great there. We finished second the last 2 times we've been there. I'm ready to get down there, get a win, and not have to worry these next 2 races into the round of 12.
Yeah, that 3-wide finish was one of the closest in Cup Series history. And speaking of close finishes, the Xfinity Series had one earlier this year at Texas. Let's take a look back at Ryan Sieg versus Sam Mayer.
Saddle up and ride. We are green at Texas. Ryan Sieg looking for third. What a day it's been for the 39, trying to get career win number 1. Sieg and Mayer going at it at Texas. Back to the start-finish line. This one is going to be tight. Who got it done? Photo finish. It's Sam Mayer who wins for the first time this season. Second closest finish in series history. And heartbreak for Ryan Sieg, who was that close to career win number 1.
As we look at Ryan Sieg's last 10 races as he makes this playoff run, one thing that sticks out, 0 DNFs. That's what you have to do if you want to maximize your points each and every week. He has continually punched above his weight class and made this 39 team better every year.
Yeah, and they just need to maximize their points. So I do think they're in the hunt for stage points this weekend, only 10 points behind the elimination line. Also looking for a win. They would love to do that. And he has great situational awareness at drafting style tracks. And then as I look at the races left before the playoff start. I talked to his crew chief, Matt Noyce, and he said, their goal was to gain at Atlanta and Bristol. So they obviously think those two tracks fit into their strengths. Maintain at Darlington, we didn't exactly see that, and then keep their minds open at Watkins Glen. So I'm really excited to watch this team over the next 3 races.
Yeah, I watch them close because I have some vested interest with our spotter, Timmy Fedewa. He spots for them, so I always pull for those guys, and this is a home track for them. This is a place that they probably have circled that not only would they love to win, but they need, like you said, you got to gain points, and this is going to be super exciting. What's also going to be super exciting is this Cup race on Sunday, the first playoff race. So let's hear what the drivers have to say before we head to Atlanta.
Things get wild here. Welcome to Atlanta.
There's a lot out of your control when you go super speedway racing, so it certainly adds a layer of chaos. I mean, the playoffs in general always are chaotic, but whenever you go to a place that's a little more out of your control, it makes it a little bit tough. The Atlanta fan base has always been one that's really good to our sport.
It's an exciting, challenging racetrack, really fast, and it's a flip of a coin. Am I going to wreck or not?
Whoa! And around they go.
Everybody pretty much has a shot to win there.
Unbelievable 3-wide finish. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Super speedway racing, you're all packed up and grouped up. You're kind of at the mercy of others, and sometimes you get caught up in the big one, sometimes you cause a big one, and sometimes you make it through. So it's going to be chaotic for sure.
So like you just heard Chase Briscoe and Noah Gragson talk about Atlanta, so much out of your control. This is really a little bit of a wild card round with Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol, but they're going to have to survive this first race if the playoff drivers want to get to the next round.
Absolutely. It's going to be a scrappy round, and it starts here. Like we said, Daniel Suarez earlier spun out early. You're going to have to keep working on your car all day, and we are talking about stage points. And when we look at what the cutoff line is already, this is what we're going to be looking at for the next couple weeks. I see Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin down. That is one stage. 10 points you can maximize your stage. If you don't get stage points in the first 2 stages, you really haven't controlled what you can control, because we see the end of these races get so crazy, you want to get the points while you can.
And this is the reseeded playoff standings, and this is showing you how far or below the elimination line they are, but what it's not showing you is the number of playoff points that each playoff team has. If you were to see that, actually from Brad Keselowski through Martin Truex Jr., those 9 teams only have single-digit playoff points. So you mentioned getting stage points. None of that. If you get a stage win, that puts a single playoff point into your bank. So I think teams will be looking for stage wins. Obviously, the race win gets you 5 additional playoff points, but the battle is on. The title run starts now.
Absolutely. For fans, it's going to be really interesting to watch. Even as a competitor, sit there and watch the TV and where we are and how good are we. And you just kind of down in distance, right? That's something that we talk about a lot, especially, I keep harping on it, these first 2 rounds. Down in distance, survive in advance. It's going to be, you're going to have to get crafty. You're going to get scrappy. You're going to have to fix your car at some point in time and hopefully fix it faster than the guys you're racing. Man, there's a lot of action coming up these next 6 weeks.
Yeah, and we've been talking playoff drivers, but we have to remember there's a whole field full of drivers still trying to get a win on the season, the best of the rest. You look at maybe Kyle Busch. He's finished runner-up the last 2 races, was in that 3-wide finish in the spring. He is hungry to continue that win streak. I think about drivers like Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, that really feel like they have something to prove now that they're not in the playoff picture, and it's a drafting style track. So anybody really could win it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't leave my buddy Corey LaJoie out of that, my Stack and Pennies co-host. This is his best track. He's finished in the top 5 here twice. He's coming off of a top 10 run at Darlington, and he's looking for a job. He's auditioning every week, so I could see him going there and throwing caution to the wind and going for this race win.
Yeah, those drivers could steal a win and keep a driver from locking themselves into the next round of the playoffs. All right, now that we have shown you what to watch for this weekend, we're going to welcome in Erica after the break to tell you where to put your money.
Hey race fans, Corey LaJoie here. Join Ryan Flores and myself for Stacking Pennies each week. I'll break down my race and explain what happened right out of my windshield.
Plus, we award the Dogs of the Week for the best pit crews and go in-depth on all the money stops, pit road mistakes, and penalties.
And we've got a ton of guests. We have SVG stopping by. We had Ricky Stenhouse after he punched Kyle Busch in the face. We've had Bubba. We've had all sorts of guys in here in the Nonsense Garage, so you do not want to miss it. Check us out on Sirius XM Channel 90, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast. Each and every week, Stacking Pennies. That's what's up.
So who is your best value pick for your fantasy league?
I've got my guy.
Yeah, we took a gamble this weekend.
Luck or the lack thereof. It's a big factor here today. Listen to me out there, gamblers.
At Sieg, baby.
Let's now welcome in Erica, our resident sports betting analyst, to tell you where to put your money this weekend as the Cup Series heads to Atlanta. Before that, Erica, though, we cashed in last weekend. Tell us which bets we hit.
We did so well last week at Darlington, so I'm super happy. We had 3 of our best bets to hit. We had Harrison over Hocevar at plus 130, and that was in the head-to-head. We had Kyle Busch as a top 5 finisher, and that hit at plus 310. We also had Chris Buescher as a top 10 finisher. Remember, I gave you both the top 5 and the top 10 spot, but the top 10 hit. And then Kim, you, Skip, and I were all on Tyler Reddick to be the regular season champ, so I told you to bet your friends on that. So you very well could have had 4 things to put some cash in your pocket from Darlington.
Love it. Well, it's time to make some more cash with the Atlanta pick. So who are your best bets for this weekend?
I got 3 best bets for this weekend. They are Kyle Busch at plus 180 to be a top 5 finisher, Ryan Blaney at plus 180 to be a top 5 finisher, and then we got Brad Keselowski as a top 10 finisher at minus 138. But let's take it back to my guy, Kyle Busch. We know, Kim, that Busch is an elite driver at super speedways. He finished 3rd here in this race in the spring. He finished 2nd a couple of weeks ago at Daytona. Now, he did get a little hot later in the season, a little too late, but it's still momentum nonetheless. But Kim, my thinking is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He hit for us as a top 5 finisher last week at Darlington, so I want to go back to that exact same spot for Busch at Atlanta.
Yeah, he is riding a wave of momentum. The last 2 races, he's finished 2nd. When we go to Atlanta, rewind in the spring, he was part of that 3-wide finish, so I love this pick. Also, he is a great super speedway racer, as is your next pick, Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, like you said, just like Busch, he is a beast at super speedways, Blaney is. So at plus 180, you can tell that he and Busch are both getting a lot of respect from the sports books. You know, he almost won this race earlier in the spring of this year, and then last spring he finished 7th, but throwing it all the way back to 2021, Blaney actually won this race. Again, talking about respect, sports books have put respect on his name because if you go across multiple books, you can see that Blaney is consistently one of the drivers who has the shortest odds to be an outright winner, which, as a bettor, that informs us how we might need to bet on Blaney in all the different markets with his name on it.
All right, you mentioned Busch and Blaney both being beasts at super speedways. The 3rd driver on your list, also great when it comes to this style of racing, Brad Keselowski. But this bet's a little bit cooler. It's a top 10. Why?
I'm going a little bit more conservative here, really honestly, because we're going to be a little bit bolder with the top 5 picks. Now, if you want to be bold, you can go Brad Keselowski as a top 5 finisher at plus 220. Do not let the fact that Brad Keselowski finished 33rd in this race earlier this year fool you into thinking that he cannot run well at Atlanta. He was running so well before he hit the wall on lap 219, which essentially ruined his race. So, minus 138, I think Brad can be a safe bet for us in that spot as a top 10 finisher.
All right, I love it. Busch, Blaney, Brad, all best bets for Atlanta. All right, we also are going to look at a group bet for this weekend. And whew, this group bet is stacked. I need to know why you're picking the driver you're picking.
I just like to torture myself. That's why I chose this group to bet on. But let's just go with it. We got Byron, Larson, Hamlin, and Elliott. And I'm going to go with Elliott at plus 240. As you can see, these odds, I mean, it's essentially a toss-up. But I'm leaning more toward Chase because, like me, Atlanta is his home track. He's a hometown guy, so I'm going to give him the leg up there. And also, when he won this race in 2022, he swept both stages. So I think that will go a long way with how he runs again this weekend.
All right, I know the fans in Dawsonville will appreciate that pick. All right, one last thing. The last time that the Cup Series raced on a super speedway, it was Harrison Burton taking home the win. He was an absolute long shot, so we cannot ignore the long shots at a drafting track. Who do you have your eye on?
I have my eye on when it comes to long shots. Barry and Haley. Now, going back to Daytona, as you mentioned, Harrison Burton closed at about 7,500 at most sports books, so you could have won a ton of cash if you backed him. Here are 2 drivers who I think can run really well at Atlanta and play spoiler, but they are long shots, and they can put a lot of money in your pocket if you take them this weekend.
Oh, we like the sound of that. All right, Erica, thank you so much. Don't forget to look out for her bonus bets later in the week. And Erica, we will see you next week previewing Watkins Glen. And now that you guys know where to put your money, Ryan and I are going to tell you who to put on your fantasy lineup.
Less than this ruler determine the winner of the race.
You put him in this position, and we're having the conversation today about why did every other crew chief miss the 2-stop strategy.
This is Formula One racing, this is road course racing, and this is also short track racing.
You've only got to get to here, just over a car width.
Catch NASCAR Inside the Race each week on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
It's time to talk a little fantasy before we make our picks for the weekend. Just a reminder, if you were worried because, oh my gosh, I ran out of uses for Kyle Larson or Ryan Blaney, do not worry. NASCAR Fantasy Live resets for the playoffs. Now, it is a little bit different. You only get 5 uses per driver instead of 10, but everything remains the same, so do not worry if you have used up uses for a driver.
Who's your first use? Who are you using this week in Atlanta?
Oh, gosh. All right, let's talk must-haves for Atlanta. I'm going with Willie B., William Byron. He won the Daytona 500 earlier this year, and then you look at his Atlanta stats. He's won twice on this reconfiguration, but this was a hard choice for me only because as you look at the 4 drafting tracks we visited this year, there's been a different winner for every single race.
Yeah, it's truly is a crapshoot. Willie B's been a little cold lately, though. We'll see if he heats up. Okay. But one guy that has been hot, and you got to pick them while they're hot, is Kyle Busch. That's who I'm going with. Back-to-back runner-up finishes. He's looking to snap this 47-race winless streak. I think now that he hasn't made the playoffs, the biggest focus is making sure that he keeps that streak of 19 years going of winning a race. So I look to see the 8 car being strong. You know, he was part of that 3-wide finish. He finished third, but he was only I don't know, 0.1/1000th of a second back, so we'll see if he can finish 2 spots better.
All right, I like that pick. Let's go with Hail Mary. Who is your Hail Mary?
Hail Mary, I picked him earlier. I got to go with Corey LaJoie, right? Okay. This is his best track, 2 top 5s at Atlanta, and 262 starts. He's looking to get his first win, so we'll see if he can punch his way into victory lane, and it will be a long week of partying if he does that.
Watch out.
Yeah, what about you?
I'm going with Todd Gilliland. You look at how he's qualified at this style track. He's qualified 4th or better in the last 3 drafting tracks. He's strong when we come to these tracks. I'm putting him kind of in the Hail Mary just because the playoff drivers want to win so bad, so I think it's going to be that much harder for guys like Todd Gilliland and Corey LaJoie to try and get the win.
When I think about coaches that'll call Hail Marys at football games, I think about his crew chief is a crew chief, Ryan Brigantes, that is not afraid to take chances, and he will do whatever it takes to get that 38 car in a victory lane. But there's not only a lot of racing going on this weekend, there's a ton going on at and around Atlanta Motor Speedway. What are you looking forward to on this list?
Yeah, there's so much. It all starts Thursday, so you can always check out the track's website to see every single thing on every single day. But I'm going to fast forward to Sunday. Trackside Live is back on Sunday. It's the first race of the Cup Series Playoffs. I think the energy at Atlanta is already so high. I think you're going to see that at Trackside Live. And then also on Sunday, there's various fan zone activities, but the one that stands out to me, Canine Stars, you know how much I love dogs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're definitely a dog person. I like on Friday, they have Legend Cars, Bandolero Racing, a ton of racing going on. You can see everything that Atlanta has to offer at atlantamotorspeedway.com.
All right, it's that time. The white flag.
Wave it. I got it this week.
Okay.
Got
Let's
a question.
Hear it. Are you going to try and stump me?
Who? No, this is just a stat.
Oh, just a stat.
Who is the winningest driver at Atlanta Motor Speedway? He's not active.
Jeff Gordon.
No. Who's his rival?
Which one?
Black
Dale
car.
Earnhardt?
Dale Earnhardt.
Okay.
There you go. 9 wins.
9?
Dale Earnhardt Sr., 9
I don't know that I knew
wins
that.
at Atlanta Motor Speedway. So, man, the Intimidator was fast there for sure.
Yeah, can't wait to see all the action this weekend from Hot Atlanta. We can't wait to see you there as well as next week.
Next week, rights and lefts, backwards pit stops, a new tire, a lot to digest as we head to Watkins Glen. So hear all about it right here at Around the Track.